Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the TripleJump podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Ben.
And my name is Peter, full stop.
If you're watching the video version, yes, we know it looks weirdly dingy and honestly quite moody, cinematic almost.
Do you think it actually does, or is it? It definitely feels like it in the room, but I don't know if it looks so bad on camera.
Because we've got the single bulb on above Peter.
Yeah.
And then every time, I swear to God,
Yeah.
every time we come in the studio, the entire room is different.
Yeah.
The desk is in a different place.
The desk moves all the time.
The camera's in a different place at a different angle. Today, the lights were not in the right place. So I've attempted to put them in the right place, but I think what's happened now is that we look like the opening, Vidiots viewers will remember, of Piece of Cake.
Yeah, we do.
Where we're intensely lit from one side and the other side is shrouded in darkness all mysteriously. So it's a moody podcast.
Yeah, maybe
today.
it is. I don't know. I can't tell anymore whether it's how much we're making it feel moodier when we just look at it, but I don't know. Yeah.
I think it looks great.
Let us know in the comments.
This is what we're rolling with. No Ashton today. She is on holiday plops.
Peace at last. Am I right?
Oh!
Am I right?
You got, well, not if you yell.
No,
That's not
sorry.
peace at all. Just Peter and I. Ashton is off again next week, still having the holiday of a lifetime. We hope she's having a phenomenal time. Getting close to when I'm going to be jetting off to Japan as well.
I know.
It's exciting.
Everyone's going to Japan, and actually in between that, I'm not going to Japan, but I'm also going away. So I think you're only going to have one podcast with all of us in the room together in the next month, it feels like.
It's a busy period.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. But yes, Ashton will be rejoining us very soon. How you doing, Peter? You all right?
I'm all right. How are you after the war that you fought last night?
I was so cross.
Yeah.
Because we were texting last night and my bicycle is increasingly, has always been the bane of my existence.
Yes.
One of the hardest things about this job is my bicycle, which frequently just doesn't work. So last night I was trying to, I was just going to pump up the tire because it was a bit flat. Unfortunately, the jam did not want to be pumped up. Every single time I attached my tiny Amazon bike pump that cost £2.50, all the air leaked out.
Okay.
Every time. So I was like, you know what? This is stupid. I'm getting really cross. And I sort of threw the wheel down in frustration and the entire air valve just like snapped off. So I was like, okay, time to put a new inner tube in, I suppose. I then used my little stupid crap cheap plastic lever things to get the tire off so I could get the inner tube out. And then put a new inner tube in, tried to put the tire back on, would not happen.
Right.
Did not want to go on. I was sitting there in my garden. The sun was going down. It was getting colder.
Yeah.
I was getting hungrier. And I managed to snap two of these supposedly invincible bike tire levers in half. So I only had one left. And I was like, okay, I need to go inside. I'll bow to the YouTube gods.
Have a break.
We'll see what the YouTube gods think.
Right.
They'll tell me how to fit a tire on my bike without using any levers at all.
Yeah.
And you know what? Didn't really help.
Okay.
So then I tried to inflate it slightly because I was like, maybe you should inflate it. That also didn't work. It also leaked air, so I can only assume that in the process of trying to wrench the tire back on, I managed to tear a second inner tube, ripped that out.
Okay.
Put a new one in. This is my third inner tube of the day.
Oh God.
It's like coming up on 7 p.m.
Yeah.
It's dark now. I've brought the tire inside in the house.
Yeah.
I've given up any pretense of not getting grease on the kitchen rug.
Right.
Grease is on the kitchen rug now.
Okay. And you're home alone, aren't you, at the moment?
Yes, I am.
Are you going to be in for it with the trouble and strife when she gets back?
I don't think she likes the rug. I've done her a favor.
Good.
I've done her a favor. I ended up using teaspoons as bike tire levers to get the tire on. Miraculously, I think it could tell that I was about to throw the wheel through a window in frustration. Managed to get it on, managed to get it inflated and put on okay, and I cycled in today. But my hands are still kind of, well, they are really sore because I was just wrenching rubber tires off for
Inanimate
like 2
objects,
hours.
they can tell when you sort of look at them and say, right, this is it now.
I'm done.
I swear to God. And then they go, all right.
Go on then. We'll go on this. He's using spoons.
Yeah.
Can we just cut him some slack? So yeah, I'm exhausted. That took a lot out of me.
Yeah, I bet.
It wasn't physically demanding, but it was emotionally demanding. And I had to go to bed early. I was really tired afterwards. Yeah. So I didn't play any video games last night, which is sad. But because this is a video game podcast.
It is, yeah.
And it's not a bicycle podcast. No. Each and every week, we're sponsored by a very real video game adjacent sponsor. Helps us keep that bulb on, helps us keep that light pointing in the wrong direction on the wrong setting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to our not patrons, sorry, but we'll get to you. The sponsor, Peter.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Am I doing it right? Sports time.
That's right.
I've never played sports in a nuclear apocalypse before.
Okay.
But I will give it my best shot.
That's it. You did it.
Yeah. Thanks. Great. There is now a brand new video game coming out where you get to play various games of sporting variety in the beautiful British countryside. Maybe cricket. You know, that's quite a British game. But just watch out for those rads. They're going to get you.
They're going to get you.
Geiger counter is clicking away.
Yeah.
While you're bowling, swinging, catching.
Yeah.
Doing all those things.
What's the name of the sport?
Bat and ball.
Okay.
Bat and ball.
I thought it was going to be a less inventive version.
All right.
I thought it was going to be atom ball.
Atom ball.
But bat and ball is good.
Bat and ball is good, but then it doesn't actually tell you in the name anything about the nuclear bit. If you just turned up for a game of bat and ball and then realized
you get radiation poisoning.
Oh wait, what? Yeah, this wasn't in the description. So maybe it should actually be atom ball.
Okay.
Because then at least you know there is going to be potential radiation sickness.
But it's
involved.
called bat and ball.
What it's called bat and ball.
What do you do in bat and? Is it just a sort of someone throws a ball and you hit it with your bat? Is it a specific sport? Cricket, basketball,
well, I think
baseball?
all bets. I think all bets are off now because the world is ending.
Yeah.
People don't have time for a deep sort of complex rule system in any of their sports.
Okay.
All they're doing is throwing balls at each other, and if you can swing it and hit the ball, great.
Jobs are good at it.
Yeah, whoever does the best batting of the ball wins, I suppose.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it does.
Is there a career mode, like a character creator, seasons, or?
There's actually a bonus mini game where you just eat loads of Battenberg.
You know what?
Just because it sounds a bit like it.
When you said bat and ball, I was like, oh, Battenberg.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about Battenberg cake since I was 9. Mate, have you had Battenberg cake? It seems like something you'd go to a cafe at a National Trust site to eat.
Yeah, you do get it occasionally, but it's sort of marzipan-y, isn't it? It's almondy,
Yes, it
which
is,
I'm really not a fan of marzipan or that sort of thing. So I wouldn't eat it. My dad loves it.
Does he?
My dad loves marzipan.
Battenberg fiend.
Yes, every Christmas we get him some marzipan fruits. Have you seen those?
No, I haven't.
Oh, they're really cool. They're it's like a tray,
Yeah.
like a chocolate box with lots of little things, but each one is just a ball of marzipan, but very cleverly made into a tiny little fruit.
Oh, that sounds delightful.
There's a little banana and a peach and an apple, and they're incredibly well done.
That sounds great. It also seems like something you could probably see off in about an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Just demolish them. Just tiny little decorative fruits. Right.
That's the day when you're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's 6 heaping teaspoons of sugar. Tablespoons.
Yum, yum.
Excellent. Well,
it's not real.
Oh, for God's sake.
No.
She's not even here, and still the lies continue.
Is she the source of the lies?
I don't know.
Oh.
I was just trying to bring Ashton into the conversation. If it's not her, it's you. There we are.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah, fair enough.
I never lie.
No, always telling the truth.
Never a fake sponsor from me.
No.
No, we're not sponsored by Bat and Ball. We are, of course, sponsored by our wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/Team TripleJump. If you go there and support us, you get access to all sorts of amazing rewards, including asking questions on this podcast, early access to worst and weirdest games, exclusive access to Rules Boss and Main Menu, and more. We're recording our After Dark podcast after this.
We are. We've got the hat. We've got the questions.
Yeah,
Can't
the
wait
questions
to
are ready to
answer
go.
them.
Yeah, that's our bonus podcast where we talk about everything but games, and that releases on a fortnightly on a Monday. So maybe you go check it out on patreon.com/Team Triple Jump. TripleJumpShop.com if you'd like to buy some sick and cool merchandise. We're both wearing our podcast uniforms today.
Yeah.
There they are.
Also that one.
I can only assume Ashton is wearing a Triple Jump shirt in Japan
I
right
hope
now.
so.
Maybe that one, the Japanese one.
Yeah, she could be. Have we definitely checked that it does say triple jump? Might say stupid Brit or something.
I seem to remember at the time that we got the design through from the merchman, and then I sent it to a friend of mine who lives in Japan and said, "Is this right?"
Yeah.
And I think the answer was yes.
Okay.
Who knows? He could have been yanking our chain.
Yeah.
It could be a big conspiracy from Big Shirt. I don't actually know. And of course, TripleJump is where you can find our website. There's links to everything that we do on there. Worst games ever week, Peter.
It is, yes. We played Arctic Thunder. Can you guess the genre of game from the title? I couldn't. There's only one way to find out what it is. You have to watch it.
Yeah, you will. And if you're a patron, you may have seen it by now. Already.
Yeah.
So thank you to all of you. Time for question 1.
It comes from Hakuna Patata from The Lion King, who says, "Hello, Bap," or Bap's permutation of this week's podcast, BP.
Or personal best.
Indeed. In a recent interview with TV writer Ronald D. Moore about their new God of War Amazon series, Moore said they never really played the games. Do you think the writer of a series based on a video game should be a person who played through said game, or is passing knowledge of the lore enough? Can you really get the feeling of the game without playing it, even if you have a team around you and access to all the inside material? Thanks for all you do. Got a little write-up here. Thank you. Of the quote that was said. Right now, I'm working on the adaptation of this video game called God of War that Amazon has ordered 2 seasons of, and they asked me to come in. I'm literally in the writer's room, and that's my new thing. Moore, best known for the 2004 Battlestar Galactica reboot, said on a recent episode of The Sackhoff Show with Katie Sackhoff, who starred in that show as Kara Starbuck Thrace.
My God. She's also in The Mandalorian, right? Is that her? Okay.
Yeah. He added that he hasn't played video games since the arcade days, however, and quickly bounced off the new God of War series. The controllers now, he said, laughing. Press R1. Which one's R1? Oh, I'm dead. I can't quite get a hold of that. End quote. So some people, not many, fortunately, because I think Moore affords a bit of respect amongst the nerdy population, but some people are cross that someone involved in the God of War adaptation maybe hasn't held a PlayStation controller in a long time.
Outrageous. It makes, honestly, I've not been sleeping since this, because this was a couple of weeks ago now.
Knackered.
Yeah, I feel bloody knackered. It's making me fight bicycles. This news, it's doing my head in, makes me so cross. Yeah. This is not a big deal, is it?
It's not. It's really not a big deal. I mean, for one thing, I think there's a middle ground, in Hakuna Patata's question. Do we think that they should have played the game, or is passing knowledge of the lore enough? I think you can have a very deep knowledge of the lore of a game without playing it by simply watching a long play. I'm not suggesting that they have actually sat down and watched hours and hours of a full 100% playthrough of the game, but you could definitely... Someone could cut together all the important stuff you need to know of the 2 most recent games, and maybe just a few highlights of kind of stuff from the previous games in the series as well. Or write a document, put something like that together. As you say, you've got a team around you and access to all the inside material. I think that is more than enough. I appreciate that there is always going to be a different experience to be had being hands-on with the game and really feeling some of those moves that you're doing and so on. But I don't think that's necessarily important to adapting something into something that is a different medium anyway. If you don't know what it feels like to hold the controller and be Kratos, well, that doesn't really matter because you're making something for TV and the people sitting there watching it are not having to hold the controller and be Kratos. So you don't need, in the same way, to translate that kind of experience into TV, just by its very nature.
Yeah. It's not the end of the world that people involved in a non-video game production of a video game haven't necessarily played it. There's plenty of stories about, and I don't want to generalize here, but the voice actors tend to be skewing older. Who want to see what they did in a game. Like, what's his name? Richard McGonagall, who plays Sully in the Uncharted series. I know for a fact that he has not really played those games, but that when they, back when they used to make Uncharted games, they would get select crew or cast together, and they would basically show them a screening of their bits of the game so they could see what they were up to. Miyazaki recently said that Elden Ring's too hard and that he's rubbish at it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even people involved in making games don't necessarily play. It doesn't mean he can't make a good video game that people love. You know, it's absolutely fine. And we can only assume, really, without more context, that Ronald, well, firstly, here, when he said I think people potentially have an issue with the tone of his comments as well. It's like, I mean, there's this video game called God of War. That's what I'm doing now. I'm doing a God of War thing. He's very much talking to potentially an audience and maybe even a presenter in Katie Sackhoff who doesn't really know anything about games at all. So not only are his words chosen probably purposefully to make it easier for that audience to understand, but also we have to assume that I forgot what his name is, Ronald D. Moore, will be doing his due diligence. He's a creative veteran in his own right. He's surrounded by people who presumably do know the games inside out, and I imagine PlayStation, it may not be contractually obligated, but when bringing him on, will have presented him a dossier of research. And then on top of that, you have to remember that the most recent God of War games really thrive in their sort of quieter, more nuanced moments.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're not actually playing, like Christopher Judge's performance. So part of the reason these games are so lauded is because of the performance capture and the performances of the actors involved. You sit him down and show him the story beats. As you said, they could just as easily show him a playthrough of the game.
Yeah.
But just like show Kratos, show the nuance of Kratos' character and the performance of Christopher Judge, and you'll get a handle on how this extremely violent man is trying to overcome his past and be a better person. That's a story that extends well beyond God of War. But understanding the lore implications and things like that from write-ups and watching bits of footage will be more than enough, you would imagine.
Yeah.
And he's not the only person in the writing room either.
No, that's true. And also it's worth noting, kind of touched on it earlier in terms of the difference between a game and a TV show, but more to the point, the difference between the audiences of those things. There are going to be a lot of people who, or certainly a portion of the audience, will sit down and watch this and consume it without themselves having any knowledge of Kratos and God of War or any real experience of it. Maybe they've heard of it but not played it. I mean, you look at The Last of Us, that has done very well with a whole bunch of viewers who have never played a PlayStation in their lives, or maybe, had a PS1 when they were in their 30s or 40s and kind of, don't game anymore because they're a granddad now or whatever it is. So,
every console's called a Nintendo.
Exactly, yes. So perhaps it's an interesting perspective to have someone come in and say, well, look, I'm someone who isn't like super familiar with the gaming side of this universe and this story, but I'm going to learn about it and put together an interesting story that works for me and hopefully therefore works for some of the people who will be coming into this show without having played it or without having any of that preconceived knowledge or those expectations. So it's an interesting perspective to have. It's the same with, to use a very Peter Austin example, Tony Gilroy quite famously said that he wasn't a fan of Star Wars before he started working on Andor, which is a series that has gone down very well with people who aren't that familiar with the universe. And it's the same sort of logic, is that clearly he had everyone around him he needed to make it fit within the continuity and the lore. But from that outside perspective, was able to make something that kind of works very well for people who also aren't particularly big fans, is his quote, of that world.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a great point. The Super Mario movie was beloved because it was chock full of references, and that was a real love letter to the fans. You don't necessarily want that here. You don't want Kratos to be bumping into anything and everyone from his conceivable past. Yeah. Like, they just played the God of War 2 sound effect for interacting with something when he picked up. Like, you don't need that.
Yeah.
And I think anyone, I'd like to think any creatives involved in this who are big fans of God of War also wouldn't do that. But you do have that, as you said, outside perspective.
Yeah.
The sort of placebo litmus test, kind of having a third party who doesn't necessarily know everything inside and out. It can be a good thing.
Yeah,
it genuinely
I think
can.
So I'm not worried about this at all.
No. Who though is going to play Kratos? Who are they going to get?
That's the question. I mean, there are more and more. It feels like there are more and more big men in acting nowadays.
Yes.
Lots of ex-wrestlers, for example.
Well, Triple H is the one everyone says would make a great. But the thing is, he probably doesn't have the range to pull off some of the non-angry stuff.
Yeah.
And also, he's a big guy, but he genuinely might not be tall enough. I think that's another thing that is going to have to be addressed here, is that Kratos is very big, like not just muscular, but he is very, very tall.
Yeah.
Lots of great cosplay of people dressing up as Kratos, but again, are they actually any good at...
Can you act?
Can you act? Because this is going to be a huge part of this TV show, presumably, is getting that right.
Especially the new Kratos that we know and love. You know, if this was happening sort of 10, 15 years ago, and it was just... the sort of the PS2 era
Furious.
Kratos, you could cast almost anyone because they would just be punching for the whole episode. But the whole point now and the whole appeal of making a show of the more recent kind of character is as you say, that nuance and that humanity within his performance. So yeah, it needs to be someone with really good acting chops, not just a 6'5" stature.
And he also needs to be a #daddy. He needs to look grizzled. He's got to have the beard. It depends when they're setting it. I would assume they'd be setting it in post-Greece Kratos territory.
You'd think so, but
they could do goatee Kratos from Greece.
Yeah, they could sort of blend the two and have it set in the Grecian period, but have the more of the kind of the nuance and the humanity of the later games and kind of blend the two and tell a bit more of a human story in the older kind of continuity. Well, not continuity, but the older world, I suppose.
Who would you like to play Kratos? Is it Dwayne Johnson? Why? Delete that comment. You don't want Dwayne Johnson. No. Stop it.
Stop saying Dwayne Johnson.
Stop typing Dwayne Johnson. If we go in the comments and there's 30 comments that say Dwayne Johnson. We'll be cross.
We'll be furious.
God, it might be. He's played Hercules.
It can't be
not
Dwayne
very
Johnson.
well though, but he did play him. What if it's Dwayne Johnson? Though?
It can't be Dwayne Johnson.
But all the comments say Dwayne Johnson.
Dave Bautista.
Now, Big Dave, I feel like has the range to do it.
Is he tall enough?
He's like 6'3".
Is he?
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Okay.
I mean, he's lost a lot. I was watching a video about him recently.
He has actually.
He's slimmed right down. He's like, this is the lightest I've been since like I was 19, and it's great. And they're like, how heavy are you? He's like, I'm about 240 pounds. And I'm like, bloody hell, that's still massive. But yeah, I mean, he wants to play Marcus Phoenix, doesn't he? Like really bad.
I mean, that's a good casting. I don't know if I can see him if he was dressed as Kratos. I think it would just feel like a cosplay. Whereas if he was Marcus Phoenix in a God of War world, Gears of War world, it would actually feel like, oh no, yeah, I can see that. That is him. He's being an actor and he's acting. If he was Kratos, I would just see his face behind the beard.
Yeah, that's Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Dave Bautista? That's Drax. What's he doing there? Yeah, it's true. They're running out of road, quite frankly, to get him as Marcus Phoenix because you get old. I mean, he's a genetic freak anyway, but it gets harder and harder to maintain that kind of bulk. So whoever it is that they want as Kratos, depending on how many seasons of this show they want, they better decide soon because you don't get that. I mean, you get more and more now because of science and drugs and stuff. Yeah. But you don't get many big, muscly old men. So you got to take your pick now before they get small and they shrivel up like a balloon.
Wait for the next generation of big, muscly old men to get older.
Or put the guy that plays Reacher in like old man makeup, like Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah.
From Bad Grandpa. Yeah, if you Bad Grandpa up the guy that plays Reacher, and it would
Kratos just walking around going, "Oh, I think I just crapped my pants."
He tenses and screams too hard, and half his like wrinkly makeup sort of droops off his cheek.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm selling myself on this.
Yeah,
that's what I want. That's what I want.
Can we just get Johnny Knoxville to do it? Maybe.
What's he doing?
Don't know.
He's got grey hair.
Yeah,
he's relatively tall. It's either that or Dwayne Johnson. That's all I'm saying. Ashton actually, she sent us a message and said, "Can you put this in the running order?" I don't know what it. Do you know what that is?
Well, I can read the words, and I guess we can just infer what it might mean.
Okay.
It says, "What we play in."
It's What We Playin time. Time to talk about the games what we have been playing. Peter Austin.
Yes.
What have you been playing?
Well, since the last podcast, I have finished I think it's done now, all of the drip-fed Astro bots. So those are done. Had a good time. Some of them more frustrating than others. And it sort of stopped me in the immediate wanting to go back and replay the entire game because it was tougher than, I know actually if I did just restart the game and play through it again, which I have been sort of debating doing, I would have a lovely time because most of those levels were very straightforward, relatively speaking, and a lovely, bit of romping around listening to music and looking at all the colors. But playing just levels that are designed to be punishingly difficult for about 6 or 7 weeks in a row, it's scratched the itch. Let's just say that for now. And in the meantime, sadly, we weren't able to use our hashtag TripleJump privilege and get an early copy of Atomfall. So I had been hoping that I would be able to say on this occasion, I've played it now. It comes out today at time of recording for everyone. So potentially we may still get a copy that just arrives on release day, which would be nice. A code, I mean, not a physical copy. Or if not, I'll flip and buy it, and I'll talk about it next week. So in the meantime, I've just been filling my game time, not wanting to commit to a brand new story or anything, knowing that I'm going to drop it immediately as soon as Atomfall comes out. So I actually played a bit of Minecraft this week.
Ooh,
had a lovely time. Just solo, just building away in survival mode. I mean, I do get a bit cross when I go into a cave and there are a million different new types of stone and ores that I don't understand, and weird monsters coming out. You go swimming in the sea and you're like, what the hell is that thing over there? But I still had a good time. And I remember probably a year or so ago now, when I dipped into Minecraft, as we are both wont to do occasionally, I actually downloaded a sort of a backdated version of it, to like going back to before all the new and weird and unfamiliar stuff wasn't added. I used to be with it, and then they changed what it was.
And it will happen to you.
Yeah. So I didn't do that this time. I've been playing vanilla Minecraft, and I've had a lovely time. But that's kind of all I've been doing to fill my time, apart from like watching that new Netflix show, Adolescence, about a child committing a crime and stuff. Very compelling TV, but it means that I've had less time for gaming because it's an hour an episode and it's really good. So yeah. What have you been playing?
I was going to ask you actually about Minecraft because you say you rolled it back to before.
Like last year when I downloaded it.
Oh, okay. Because I found recently that when I've been dabbling with it, the amount of mobs that spawn at night it's insane. Like, it honestly makes the game really not fun. The amount of crap, especially if you're playing on your own. And I know you have to build shelter and sleep, but there's like, as soon as night comes, or even if you just go under the shade of a tree, there's like 5 creepers, 13 skeletons, 25 zombies, and it's like, it won't stop.
I found a lot of stuff in caves, particularly. Like, I'd be caving and there would just be constantly monsters coming.
You just don't get a second reprieve, and it's like, I know some people want that, but I found it really irritating because I need some kind of ore, and I keep getting killed. Trying to get the ore that I mined already.
And obviously you could put it on peaceful, but then I kind of don't want zero monsters because that does take away some of the challenge of the game, and kind of you lose one of your objectives, which is to survive, and you have to make sure you've got a shelter and got the right supplies and stuff. If you take that out of it, you do lose some of that,
and no trophies as well.
No trophies
on peaceful, but there's I just want there to be a level below easy, where it's like just fewer mobs, please, just spawn
mob frequency,
spawn fewer things for me, please.
There'll be mods for that, I'm sure, but I'm not faffing around with.
Not on PlayStation, no, where only losers play.
I was playing on PC,
like me. I play on PlayStation.
I did find 2 underground mines very quickly and destroyed all of the tracks, and then it was good because I was like, oh good, normally like you have to spend loads of iron making tracks if you want to build a little train for your little survival base, but I had loads and loads of it, so I was just building track all over the place. Just,
bloody hell.
I'm not walking there, I'm going to take a take a minecart just sort of 100 blocks in that direction.
Conductor of the block train.
Yeah, I know. It was nice.
Incredible. Well, I've not been playing that. I played a little bit of WWE 2K25, and this is going to sound like a hashtag ad, but I promise you it's not. I was actually recently emailed about this, and I think it was posted about on some news sites as well. There's a website that's been set up called WWE2Ktools.com.
All right.
Because quite frankly, in the wrestling games, when you browse the community uploads, the things people have made, it's really slow and a gigantic pain in the ass.
Right.
This website aims to help with that, so people can voluntarily submit their own stuff that they want people to be able to find. And each thing, like you upload a photo, the hashtag you need to search to find it, and it has its own dedicated page. And it's just meant to be a far simpler resource for finding stuff from, especially like if there's a community creator who's particularly prolific that you want to keep up with the stuff they're doing. I know some people like to recreate rosters of wrestling promotions from a specific time period, for example. So they make all their own guys with the correct gear and stuff like that. They also keep track of all the locker codes for the My Faction mode, where you can unlock cards and stuff. So oftentimes they'll be, like in the past, 2K have partnered with fast food brands and energy drink brands and stuff, and if you buy one, you get access to a locker code to redeem in game or whatever, and people share those, and then they're all in one place. And I think at the moment that's all it does, but they're planning on adding in other stuff, so like a calendar system and tracking system for universe mode, where you can make your own shows, so you can plan it all out. So like basically a resource for perhaps more hardcore WWE 2K players who want to plan out their own custom stuff. And I was just quite impressed by it as a resource. So I wanted to shout that out in case people were interested. WWE2Ktools.com. But yeah, mainly just mucking about in WWE 2K25, not really accomplishing anything of note this week. Outside of that, though, main thing I played is Grand Theft Auto 4.
Oh, yeah.
Still playing that. I have now reached the point in the game where it is just punishingly difficult and not a huge amount of fun.
Happens a lot in GTA, I find.
Yeah. I think they revised that for GTA 5. Having played through 3 and San Andreas in the past couple of years, this definitely feels like a step up in terms of, and admittedly those were the trilogy versions, which do have checkpoints and stuff that they added. This definitely feels like another step up from that, even where if you fail a mission, you get a text and you can restart it. But you restart it at the point of contact at the start of the mission. So you then still have to, and again, I've reached the point where I'm tired of just commuting to missions over and over again. So I get in taxis and just skip the journey most of the time. You have to then get in a taxi or drive over to the objective. There's no mid-mission checkpoints. The missions like 3-leaf clover, which are infamous for being really, really annoying. I managed to complete that in 2 tries, thankfully, but I have since encountered further missions where I'm like 15 minutes into this mission and then I just get shot in the face by someone I didn't see, and then I have to do the whole thing again. And I think GTA 5 was better, from if memory serves. But I'm hoping with GTA 6 they have mid-mission checkpoints, because come on, we've got to move past this now.
You're right that they did add them for the bad trilogy remake, didn't they? But in the original versions of the game, of those games, it was really tough at times, because every time if you die in a mission, you have to restart, and actually you have the faff of respawning at the hospital and having to just drive to the start of the mission first, and then no sooner do you get there, they say, okay, we'll head over to the building next to the hospital and we'll start the shootout or whatever. It's like, I was just there. The
most annoying thing is that when you do die in a mission, logically all of the ammo that you've expended is still gone. You don't go back to a checkpoint, even if you quick restart the mission, where you have all the ammo that you just spent, So I was burning through ammo. I was getting really cross, and so I'm playing it in smaller and smaller increments now. But I do feel like I'm most of the way through the game. I think I've got all the safe houses. I'm certainly further than I ever got originally, because I've still got my old save file.
All right.
From 2011 is when it was dated on there. So it's cool to see more of this game, and I am just still so impressed by just how they make worlds. Like if you're up in the morning, you see the bin men out on their route, and like just all these little touches. You go in and get some fast food to heal yourself, and as you leave, they shout like, "Oh, thank you for coming, see you later," and stuff. Going back to our conversation about AI NPCs and are they necessary and things like that, this world feels plenty alive for me. I don't need to, for every single person I bump into on the street to have unique dialogue. The fact that my crime friends will call me up and say, "Hey, come on, man, we haven't hung out in a while. Let's do stuff." Sometimes annoying. Sometimes if you're on your way to a mission, annoying. But I'm trying to indulge them a bit as well. And it's quite fun because they all have different things to say each time you go out with them. And actually, to their credit, if you do mess up a mission and you do have to drive somewhere with people and you're not just getting in a taxi and skipping it, the dialogue they will say to the mission will be different. There's like 2 or 3 permutations for every mission in terms of how they go about discussing what's going on and so on. And that's just a level of detail that I'm so impressed by.
Yeah, I feel like the way that games are now, already we're at a point where you don't actually tend to hear the same stuff over and over. And it's certainly in games of that genre anyway. I mean, certainly kind of single player linear experiences, you might well listen to
hero
the same
shooters
thing
as well.
Yeah, exactly. Over and over and over again. If you're dying on the same bit of a, Golem, for example, not a good example of a good game, but that kind of thing where you die and you hear the same thing every time. But going off this is turning into a discussion rather than a what we playing, but going off the, I don't know if it's genuine, but there's a graphic going around showing the GTA 5 map and the supposed GTA 6 map, and it's like 6 times bigger or something. It's insane. Might not be genuine, but if we say that it is, or it's going to be something like that, the resources that are going in to make a map of that size, I feel like even just like taking off a little bit of that budget and just putting it into, okay, let's record like 50% more world ambient dialogue, that defeats the purpose of needing to use AI. Like if you have that many just NPC little remarks that can be made, and you spend more and more money on just recording loads and loads of those, you will never run out of them, and you don't need to then start using AI instead. But AI is cheaper, of course. So.
It is, yeah. I don't need a map that big.
No,
I actually, when I started playing this game, I was like, yes, I'm into it. I want to be immersed. I'm going to drive everywhere. I'm going to park my car at my apartment overnight while I sleep in there to save. And then I'm going to get back in and I'm going to go bowling with Roman. And then I'm going to go do a mission. I'm going to call my girlfriend and we're going to go to drink. And also the drinking's so fun in this game.
Yeah.
The physics engine is unbelievable for the drunk mechanics, just wobbling and falling over. And
it is such a good engine, that game. It's a shame that it's kind of unique in that respect. I know the driving is a bit kind of controversial.
Oh my God. The amount of missions I've failed because you hit something slightly wrong, or you're braking full whack to go round a corner and pressing the drift button, and you just brake in a straight line and don't turn the corner at all. It's sometimes you feel like a god when you're driving. Other times not so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, the drinking, when you're behind the wheel and you've had a lot to drink, like the way the camera wobbles about and it pulls the car in random directions and things, like it's genuinely really well thought out. But yeah, like I was driving everywhere, and then I thought I'm going to have to start getting taxis places because I'm bored.
Yeah.
You're making me commute. The amount of times I had to drive across that bloody bridge, slow down at the terminal, pay my $5, wait for the thing to lift up, drive across the, I was like, I can't I'm commuting in a video game. I'm bored now. But I would get in a taxi and make them do it. And then I just put it on the sort of cinematic camera view and just watch them drive through the city and just look at the city and stuff. And now I've reached the point where I'm like, get in the taxi. I want to go here. Skip. I've got $300,000. I'd actually quite like to play the game if that's okay. I don't want to be in the city anymore, just driving around. But yeah, fantastic game. A bit worried about the size of GTA 6, but we'll see if they add some quality of life stuff to, I mean, God forbid, maybe some fast travel.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. I don't think they will, but yeah.
Taxis
everywhere. Outside of that, though, I played a couple of older games over the weekend.
Oh.
One of them being The Sims 2.
The Sims 2?
On PS2.
Oh, yeah, I had that.
In split screen.
Weird game.
It is weird, but fun.
Yeah.
I had a good time with it. I was my sim was like a sports star and is near the top of his career now, which is amazing.
Oh, wow.
He gets picked up in a huge Hummer.
Happy for him.
And he only works like 3 hours a day. It's incredible. It's good. It's good work if you can get it.
And the cursor is like a big pillar, isn't it? Like a big beam of light that you drag around, if I recall correctly.
Something like that. The emulator I was using was a bit weird. It wasn't displaying things properly, and it did like to crash a lot, which was annoying. But yeah, that was fun, playing that in co-op. The other thing I did, which was a good laugh, is I played a SmackDown Here Comes the Pain drinking game.
Right.
Where I booted up a Royal Rumble. We assigned numbers, so 1 and 2, 14 and 15 and 29 and 30, and whoever came out of those numbers was your guy. Right. And if you eliminated someone else, the other person had to drink. If you got eliminated, you had to drink, and so on and so forth.
Right.
And because of the way that Here Comes the Pain works, there's no mechanic for like the Royal Rumble that's special for throwing people out over the top rope. It's just as easy as if you were doing it in a regular match. So people just get chucked out immediately. As soon as they come in, they just go out. Like, so these drinking games, you can do like 3 or 4 in about half an hour.
Right.
Great fun. Would recommend. It was really daft and a good laugh. But that is basically what I've been playing this week.
Goodness, we put the world to rights, didn't we?
I think so, yeah.
Well, before we move on to question 2, we're going to speak to the ghost of Ashton. We're going to call Japan calling.
Yeah.
Hello?
Special correspondent Ashton Matthews.
Yes.
With the gaming forecast.
Oh.
Hello, it's me here from the past, to tell you all about what's coming in our not too distant future. There are plenty of things to look forward to over the next 30 days, including the Nintendo Direct focusing on the new Switch 2, which is due to take place on April 2nd, but today we are focusing on which games will be hitting our current consoles. So without further ado, here is your April gaming forecast. First up, launching on April 3rd and coming straight to Game Pass, is Compulsion Games' new action-adventure game, South of Midnight. Set in a fictionalised American Deep South, the game follows Hazel, a young woman who must use her newfound ancient weaving power to rescue her mother after a hurricane decimates her neighbourhood and places her in a world full of folklore and mythos. The gameplay is third person and has you using these magical powers to fight monsters known as haints, traverse through the world and unravel the echoes of the past. The game has a distinctive stop-motion style, which can be toggled off if it's not something you're vibing with, and a beautiful artistic direction, so looking to be a great time for those looking to sink some time into a narrative-driven adventure. South of Midnight launches on PC and Xbox Series. It's a monthly forecast written by me, so you know I have to include at least one indie or puzzle game, and thus I present to you the ungenred Blueprints, a very cleverly titled puzzle/strategy game that's launching on April 10th. The game has you exploring Mount Holly, a place known for its shifting rooms, in the hunt for the mysterious Room 46, though with every door you encounter, you'll get to pick which room will appear on the other side, changing the path you take every time you explore the mansion. With each room you'll discover new information, helpful items, and pieces of the story. New rooms, new puzzles, and new notes can be found every in-game day, and help to flesh out your deck of rooms and help you get closer to the 46th room. Play solo or in co-op when the game arrives on PlayStation 5, Xbox and PC, as well as dropping day one onto Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. Next up, launching on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Game Pass and PC, is brand new RPG Clair Obscur Expedition 33. The game has an absolutely stacked voice cast, including Andy Serkis, Charlie Cox, Ben Starr and Jennifer English, just to name a few, and follows a group of explorers who must embark on a quest to defeat a mysterious entity known as the Paintress, who's been wiping out swathes of the population every year. The game is described as an evolution of JRPGs, with a mix of real-time and turn-based combat, where your 6 characters must work together to defeat a mix of big monsters who stand in your way. All the characters have a unique skill set and reason for embarking on this expedition, and must work together against all odds to try and save their world. With a world inspired by Belle Epoque France, a series of fun spirits called Gestalts to meet and a mystery to uncover, the game is set to be lots of fun when it launches on April 24th. Next up, Sony first-party studios doing what they do best, or seemingly are only allowed to do, remastering games that came out within the last 6 years, because Bend Studios are releasing Days Gone Remastered this month. Zombie smacking, motorbike riding, wife rescuing post-apocalyptic romp Days Gone stars Deacon St. John as he scours the dangerous landscape, building weapons, stuffing through dangerous situations, and kicking freaker ass. The game was a solid 7 out of 10 according to critics, but sold very well and has a dedicated fan base. So the remaster is set to deliver everything fans loved the original game offered, but with upgrades to its graphics, accessibility, and the addition of new content, including a permadeath mode, races, and the slightly goofy-looking Horde Assault. The game is set to launch on April 25th on PlayStation 5, and as purchasable DLC for PC players. All of that, plus Lost Records Bloom and Rage Tape 2 launching on the 15th, and indie games Rusty Rabbit and Tempopo dropping on the 17th, as well as Season 2 of The Last of Us TV show hitting our screens on April 13th, there is plenty to look forward to this month. For now, though, it's time to get back to the podcast.
Thanks, Ashton.
Thanks, Ashton.
Great forecast.
Very good.
It's time for question 2. It comes from Anthony Price, who says...
That's Anthony Price.
Anthony. Do you think anyone's ever said that to him?
I mean, we're assuming Anthony Price is from the UK.
Well, that's true.
Maybe, and people from outside the UK will have no idea what we just did.
Yeah, so either we've done a joke that Anthony Price has definitely heard time and again if Anthony Price is from the UK, or if Anthony Price is not from the UK, he's got no idea what we just did.
No. Should we explain or not?
No.
Okay.
Hey gang, I got into No Man's Sky during the pandemic and stopped playing in around 2022. When I upgraded to a PS5 earlier this year, I noticed it was offered as a free download, which I took advantage of to see what they'd updated and how and have now have almost 100 hours logged. Do you have any games that you find yourselves going back to after years of long breaks or years-long breaks? Thank you, Anthony.
That's Anthony Price.
It is. Well, we've named a few already in today's podcast.
Yeah.
You've played a few in your What We Playin. Mm-hmm. I played Minecraft as well. I mean, I probably do this almost more than I play current stuff these days. I love going back and playing older stuff. I mean, my two loves really are the kind of the PS1, PS2 era of video gaming, and of course Star Wars. I'm quite famously a fan of that, and so those are the two things that probably influence most of my going back and playing older things. I will either play anything that I played on the PS1 or possibly PS2 when I was younger. So I replay Spyro a lot and Crash Bandicoot and things like that. But then also more recently, I will. Every so often I will boot up Battlefront 2 again and play that. And there are still people playing that, which is nice.
The EA one?
Yeah, the EA Battlefront 2. I mean, I also actually have played Battlefront 2 on PS2 as well, not so long ago. But yeah, I'm talking about the EA one. I just think that engine is so nice. The Frostbite engine is beautiful. And it's so nice to have playable versions of worlds that you are interested in and care about, and being able to look at all the details. I still sort of feel like every now and then I'll be playing in a level and spot something that I've never really noticed before, or that I'd kind of forgotten was in there. So to be able to go back and play those games, in spite of all the controversy around that game and all the loot boxes and stuff, it's really nice. And I actually quite liked the story, even though it is essentially just a series of multiplayer objectives with a kind of a story pasted over the top of it. It's still a good time, and good music, and so that's probably the one I still go back to the most often. That's not as such a retro game, I would say. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it is nice, and I have really enjoyed going back to PS3 era games recently with Arkham Origins and now GTA 4, and I've already decided that I'm going to pick up on where I left off with Resistance 2 because I've never actually finished that game.
All right.
And I've got a huge PS3 library of physical and digital stuff, albeit, the digital is almost impossible to work out what you do and don't own because Sony's infrastructure is terrible. But there's loads of stuff on there that I never played, and there's something I feel myself getting more and more fatigued with modern gaming, in the sense that modern games are exceptional and they're very polished and in many ways superior to anything that has ever come before them. However, I just find myself, and I said it the other week, I just find myself booting up my PS5 or Xbox Series S sometimes and just looking at it and going, what the hell was that? Did someone just fall over in the bathroom?
Yeah, it sounded like it was in here, but it was through the bathroom wall.
Someone's had a fall in the bathroom next door. I just look at it and I just think I'm so uninspired by everything that's here. And especially, it could have something to do with what we do for a living as well, in terms of, feeling like we have to stay on top of all the trends all the time. But when a new game comes out that you're interested in, especially like I can name several. Spider-Man 2 right off the top of my head right now. But like it comes out and you hit it hell for leather for like 2 weeks and then it's done. But the way that you experienced it, at least in my case, most of the time, means that I often don't actually ever want to play it again because not because it was bad, but because it was just like, okay, I'm done. On to the next thing. And I just feel like my mindset towards newer games is perhaps toxic and cursed in a way.
And I wonder if, not even consciously, it's definitely not a conscious thing, but maybe in the back of my mind, and maybe you feel the same, when I'm playing something modern, there might be just a little pilot light that's lit in the back of my brain thinking like, what should I say about this when I talk about this at work? Yeah, like you're constantly, I'm not sitting there thinking, occasionally I am, if I know I'm going to do a review corner or something, I will be thinking about, well, what do I talk about? But even if I'm not doing that consciously, there's probably something just whirring away in the background. And that probably is using up some of your energy, and it is a bit draining, even if you're not aware of it.
Yeah. Whereas I can play a PS3 game consequence free.
Yeah.
No one, it's not like pandering to anyone. No one's online on PS3, so no one can see what I'm playing.
Yeah.
I don't care about the trophies in them. I'm not going to do like a whole social media post about, here are my thoughts on the latest. I say that like people who do that are asses. That's not what I mean at all. But it is, there's a lot that comes with, I feel like, strangely, self-imposed baggage that comes with playing modern games. And so it's been really nice going back and playing some older stuff where I could play it for 2 hours and decide, I don't actually care about this, and not feel bad because it wasn't expensive or it's been on my shelf for years or something like that. And also not feel like I'm missing out of sort of a zeitgeist conversation that's happening. And so it's really lovely to be able to go back. And I do hope that when I go to Japan, my plan in terms of, and I imagine, and this is where I'm going to clean up, right? I imagine when most people go to Japan, they're like, I've got all these high ticket retro items that I want. I want to get a Japanese copy of this. I want to get like some Game Boys. I want to get the Pokemon cartridges boxed in Japanese, would be lovely to have, don't get me wrong. I'm getting PS3 controllers.
Right.
I don't think anyone's ever gone to Japan to buy PS3 controllers before. And quite frankly, they're like bloody gold dust over here. You cannot get new ones. The third-party ones are crap and don't work properly, and they don't charge properly either. I want to go to Japan, find some pre-owned DualShock 3s, maybe with some cool limited edition designs and stuff, and stock up, because I'm down to my last controller now. I had one break last night.
Right.
And this one, I legitimately have to hit on the floor to make it work.
Oh, no.
Because it puts in loads of ghost inputs, and so I have to go, no, and just give it a bash on the floor, and then it works fine.
Oh, my God.
It's one of those where there's something slightly wrong inside. So my time with my PS3 is limited anyway because my controllers are running out. So I'm having a great time with it. I can't remember exactly what the question was. Do you have any games specifically?
Yeah, that you go back to.
I mean, I started playing through Mass Effect again. That's great as well. The Arkham games, I've played them through a couple of times. But yeah, I think mainly the one that I come back to time and time again is probably Minecraft.
Yeah.
Or maybe a Wales Interactive game.
Yeah.
But that's not old. It's just something that's fun to play with people sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
I speaking of No Man's Sky, I've thought about going back and playing that more and more, particularly over the last year or so, because I do see so much. I see it a lot on social media, I think, now, of people playing it and having a really good time. It's just so different to how it was when it first launched. Yeah. And my first experience of it, really getting hands-on, was when they first showed it off and everyone went mental saying, like, this looks amazing. not to be smug.
Here he comes.
But I immediately thought, is this really going to be what they say? I was immediately like suspicious of it. And so I was not surprised when it came out and it was the story that we all know. So I didn't play it there and then. I played it like a year or so later. Someone at What Culture like gave me their copy. I think they sold it to me for like
oh yeah, because you got your PS4 that year, didn't
or
you?
something. Yeah. And at that point, it had been already improved a bit because I think they immediately got to work, didn't they, after release, and had a good time with it, but still not enough that I thought, yeah, I'm going to put hours and hours into this game. Now, that game looks really, really cool.
Yeah.
And it is something that I kind of keep thinking, oh, I should play that. But it's just not one that when I actually sit down and say, what should I play? No Man's Sky is not going to come into my brain. But I need to make a physical list, I think, so that I don't forget that No Man's Sky exists. Because I think it'll be a good time.
No Man's Sky is definitely one that I look at from a distance and go, I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
But you're also never going to get me to play that game because it's infinite. And I don't need that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's the thing.
I think that was what I didn't. I mean, I probably, not to be smug about it.
Yeah.
I probably did have some doubts back in the day as well. But honestly, I think mainly that kind of game just didn't really appeal to me.
Yeah.
So as the news came out where it was like, there's no way that two players will ever meet. The two players have gone to the same place and they can't see each other.
Yeah.
Oh, turns out they all lied. As all that stuff unfolded, none of that actually impacted my decision to buy the game. I think I was at no point during the lead up to it coming out was I thinking I need to play this because it just that kind of game just doesn't really appeal to me.
Right.
But I'm just so endlessly impressed by their commitment to making it into. They could have released like 3 sequels in this time.
Think how many years it's been.
It's unbelievable. I'm so impressed by that. And hey, maybe one day. They've got multiplayer now, haven't they? They added that in.
Yeah, it's proper multiplayer now, I think. Yeah.
Perhaps at some point. But also, I've got like taxis to get in.
Yeah.
I've got tolls to pay to cross the bridge in GTA.
I think they've just expanded. They've added like another billion stars or million stars or something.
That's so insane.
Yeah, so that there's stuff to rediscover.
No fast travel in that game either. You got to drive there in real time.
Yeah.
Slow
At
as you
light
like.
speed, though, but
No, it's fine. There we are. That is question 2. It is time for something a bit stinky
and a bit peculiar.
It's weird news. It's weird news time for some weird video game news. Remember, if you would like to submit some weird video game news to us, you can do so under the relevant social media post that goes out on a Wednesday. However, if you'd like to guarantee a shout out at this point in the podcast, you need to go to patreon.com/Team TripleJump, support us at the appropriate tier, and become a podcast producer just like
Michael Pendlebury,
Andy Scott,
Eric Siu,
Blake Thomas,
Chip Thompson's thumbs.
Actually, it says Chip Timpson's thumbs this week.
Oh, it does. Chip Timpson's thumbs.
I checked it. That's what it says.
Okay.
He's changed it again.
Right.
Nicole Hansen,
Greg Giggity,
GY Goliath,
Gabrielle Philippink,
and Big Money Bobby Vegas. Thank you very much, podcast producers. We appreciate you very much.
Yes, we do.
Peter, do you have some weird news?
I've got some weird news here that was sent to us by Jonathan Wong, top fan on Facebook, and Luna Moonstone at Luma Demigoddess on Twitter.
Good handle there.
Yeah, it is. And it's according to The Gamer Ant, written by Dominic Bosniak, who says, Assassin's Creed throws shade at Elon Musk after Hassan comments. I think I'm saying that right, Hassan. I've never said it out loud. I've seen the name on social media before, but we'll get there. The official Assassin's Creed Twitter account threw shade at Elon Musk by mocking his Path of Exile 2 credentials, or lack thereof.
Never forget.
The move marks a continuation of bizarre beef that started with the world's richest known man, taking shots.
Big news, we've discovered
there may be a richer
man.
who is just staying under the radar. No one knows. Richest known man taking shots at Assassin's Creed Shadows. Since its May 2024 reveal, the latest installment of Ubisoft's open world series has found itself targeted by some vocal groups for featuring a black protagonist in 16th century Japan. Because as we all know, black people didn't exist in the 16th century.
I never saw any when I was in the 16th century.
There was no way that one of them could maybe have made his way to Japan.
Impossible.
In one of the most high-profile examples of this backlash, Elon Musk publicly claimed that DEI kills art, and Assassin's Creed Shadows proves it. The executive producer for the franchise, Mark Alexis Cote, subsequently characterized this comment as unproductive, asserting that the Tesla CEO was feeding hatred before the game was even out. Musk has once again taken aim at the game in late March 2025 by remarking on the recently unbanned Twitch streamer Hassan Piker posting a paid Assassin's Creed Shadows promotion on Twitter. Hassan is a fraud, the billionaire wrote in a March 25th tweet, before sharing another message in which he changed that label to a sellout. Elaborating on this notion, Musk declared that, quote, objectively, he is promoting a terrible game just for the money. This prompted a sharp response from the official Assassin's Creed Twitter account asking, is that what the guy playing your Path of Exile 2 account told you?
Oh, did they ratio him? Is that what that's called? I think
they massively ratio
way
him.
More likes than his original.
They got 700,000 likes so far. And he only got, I think, in the tens of thousands. The cheeky comment was a reference to Musk's recent admission of boosting his Path of Exile 2 account. The billionaire only admitted to doing so after it became apparent he couldn't have achieved this high in-game ranking himself, as his account was active while he was publicly seen elsewhere. How embarrassing. While some social media users labeled the act of paying to boost one's video game account as a sign of insecurity and desperation to be liked, Musk insisted that everyone does this. He also admitted to boosting his account in Diablo 4, a game he claimed in the late 2024 interview with Joe Rogan that he was among the world's top 20 players in, is how that sentence is written.
He is such a loser.
The saddest man.
He's just got, like, it's not even... There are so many things you could take shots at Elon Musk for. Yeah. Literally endless things. But I'm just like, I pity him.
Yeah.
Like, you are
such pitiful.
You are such a loser.
Yeah.
You are so desperate to be liked. And it is really sad. Just log off.
Yeah.
And get some professional help or something, because he's such an arse.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is really embarrassing.
Jesus.
Just everything he does is... I was talking to someone recently about Elon Musk saying, I remember, like, I don't know how long, it's always longer than you think, like 5 years ago or 10 years ago now, thinking, like, not having much of an opinion on him. He was the guy who did Tesla, and that seemed quite cool. And he was going to do some stuff in space, and he was like, oh, okay. You know, the kind of the Elon Musk who spoke to Iron Man in Iron Man 2, was it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I watched that recently.
Yeah.
It's aged like milk.
That Elon Musk, before he was as publicly vocal about various things, you know, like. Particularly the American right wing and also other parts of the political right, some of them are inherently against electric cars, right? Donald Trump in the past has said that, you know, sort of renewable energy is a bad thing and we should be pro petrol. But then Elon Musk has come along and he's the Tesla man. And, you know, it's like, how do you make those two things work? And it's because lots of people are finding solace in sort of right-wing politics because they feel like, oh, here's somewhere where I can belong, even if, like, historically I've not necessarily been particularly vocal in this respect. You know, I've found somewhere I can belong now, and he's just sort of joined that club when, you know, once upon a time maybe he's always believed some of these things he's saying, but he'd never used to chat this flip, and now he does.
He's an effing clown.
Yeah,
and I wish he'd just shut up because I'm tired of hearing about him.
Yeah.
He just keeps waffling on about absolute bollocks.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing. It's hashtag cringe. And
it is cringe.
Yeah, it's just sad. I feel sorry for you, Elon Musk, because clearly things are not good in your life.
No.
And that's just, it's tragic. Just go away for
Apparently
a while.
his oldest child was most recently interviewed for Teen Vogue, was it, or something? My wife was telling us about this, wasn't she, when we saw you last? And was when they asked about like, oh, what do you feel about your dad and some of the stuff he's saying? And they described it as, I think, flipping cringe is what they said. It was definitely cringe, if not flipping cringe.
Yeah, he just needs to shut up.
Yeah.
Just shut up. Shut up.
Yeah.
Oh God, he's infuriating. The day I don't have to hear about what he said anymore.
I hope that day comes.
Will be a good day.
I don't wish ill of him. I'm not suggesting I want him wiped from the earth, but I would love, for whatever reason, for him to just go quiet.
Yeah.
Wander off.
Just stop. Just go away. There's so many people like that on the internet. It's like, just be quiet. You have infinite wealth practically.
What he could
What
do
a waste
with
of
that
your
wealth.
time. What are you doing? Go just go save the world or something.
Yeah.
What are you
Then people might actually like you more
Yeah.
if you go and do something like that.
What a legacy, Elon Musk.
yeah.
You are leaving for yourself. Moving on, Jens Herman submitted this news story. This is according to Kotaku, written by Ethan Gack. GameStop plans to buy a bunch of Bitcoin as it closes even more stores.
What?
Yes.
What? Maybe just don't close the stores.
GameStop might be dying, but thanks to its unprecedented good fortunes as a meme stock, it still has a whopping $4 billion in cash reserves. The video game retail chain announced this week it now has a plan for what to do with it. Plow it into Bitcoin.
I didn't realize that it still had a load of money left over from
Apparently so.
the meme thing where people, what's the term? Pushed it.
Oh,
Jumped
shorted.
it.
No, I didn't do that. I didn't want to gamble with my house.
No,
so.
me neither.
GameStop today announced that its board has unanimously approved an update to its investment policy to add Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset. The company wrote in a press release published on March the 25th, "We have not set a maximum amount of Bitcoin we may accumulate and may sell any Bitcoin we acquire." It added in a subsequent SEC filing. The cryptocurrency is currently trading at $87,392, just off its historic $105,000 peak set back in January. The news came alongside another announcement. GameStop plans to shut down a significant number of additional stores. That's on top of the 1,000 it already closed in the last 12 months, including over 500 in the US alone. I wasn't aware GameStop really existed outside the US.
No.
But potentially Canada, maybe. This will put it at less than half of its 6,000 store peak a decade ago, CNN reports. The result has been ongoing layoffs and the end of dedicated gaming stores in some communities. But Bitcoin, which I think we can all agree is better than stores. We love Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'd rather that they had a treasury reserve of Bitcoin than give people wages.
Bitcoin, crypto, AI, Musk. Is there any reason why we're retreating to the past with our video game enjoyment and just trying to
I know.
avoid the always online nonsense that continues to plague us to this day?
Yeah, how about Dogecoin, which existed before Elon Musk, but when he decided to call his department Doge, actually went up in value because people are mad.
The world is bad. It's a bad world that we live in.
Yeah.
It's bad. So there we are. That's weird news. It's time now, though.
Yes. For the big discussion. It's big discussion time for the big video game discussion that this week comes courtesy of Dan Scott, who says, "Hi, Boop. Hello.
Game Informer are back.
Yay!
Yay! It's been announced recently that the rights to Game Informer has been bought and that the publication is being revived digitally and physically along with its entire staff. What are your thoughts on this? This is, of course, joyous news, but with the outpouring of love since their shutdown last year and subsequent resurrection, does this signify that institutes like Game Informer are still more in demand than maybe we think they are? Love you all, Dan Scott, 2 first names."
Thank you, Dan Scott.
This is a write-up from The Verge, written by Emma Roth. Game Informer is back, and so is its entire staff. On Tuesday, editor-in-chief Matt Miller announced that Gunzilla Games has acquired the rights to the gaming magazine, helping to bring the site and its archives back online. GameStop, which previously owned Game Informer, and now loads of Bitcoin, shut down the beloved magazine last August and laid off its entire staff after a more than 30-year run. The team teased the comeback last week and has already published a series of new reviews for titles released during the magazine's hiatus, along with a belated list of the best games of 2024. Its new owners, Gunzilla Games, is a game developer based in Europe, that's vague, that's currently working on a battle royale called Off the Grid. Miller says the magazine will continue operating as an independent editorial outlet under a new entity called Game Informer Inc. Our intent is to continue to focus on highlighting the coolest games, celebrating the history and legacy of the gaming industry, and shining a spotlight on the creators and players who are charting its future, Miller said. In addition to bringing back its website, Game Informer plans to resurrect its print magazine too, with new membership and subscription benefits. Though Game Informer currently isn't offering a subscription just yet, you can sign up for an account on its website to receive updates, as well as gain access to the magazine's archive. Game Informer will continue updating its site with news, reviews, previews, features, event coverage, and more, starting today. Lovely news.
It is lovely news.
Game Informer's never really been a thing in the UK.
No.
But, with the advent of the digital age and the website-focused approach to game coverage, certainly they had a lot of exclusives that were then recirculated in stuff that people outside of the US will have seen. And obviously, the entire staff being rehired is phenomenal news as well.
It is, insofar as them having the opportunity to have that work. I must admit that, well, for one thing, I'm seeing it reported that the entire staff is back. Are all of them available?
Did none of them get jobs in the meantime?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe some of them have left those jobs that they took up and they've gone back to Game Informer. It is great news for them. I'm putting myself in their shoes. I'm like, how would I feel about the job security? Like going back to Game Informer, which is, all right, it's an established brand and it's being relaunched, but is it kind of almost like a startup-esque situation here where they're going to make a good go of it for 6 months or 12 months, but then will they reassess at the end of the financial year and say, oh, you know what, maybe we shouldn't have bought this and it's not gone well and we're going to shut it down again, and you're going to lose your jobs again. Don't want to be pessimistic, but I'm just saying, how would I feel in that situation? I'd be pleased that my job was offered back to me, but I think I'd be worried. So I do hope this goes really well for them and that this is a new lease on life for those people.
I wonder if talks started almost as soon as the news came out, perhaps. And I don't know, I can't remember how long it was shut down last year. So it's been a good few months at least. I can't remember specifically when it shut down. But maybe there was some kind of okay, we'll get you on the books now, or we're going to make this happen. But if it wasn't that, then you can't expect staff to just sit around on the promise of a job soon and not be paid. So hopefully, as you said, this all works out really well. The test will be now whether people actually come out and support them financially. That's going to be the real thing, because it's all well and good mourning the loss of a magazine that's been around for 30 years, but are you going to put your money where your mouth is? And we're not saying this accusatorily in that, oh, you said you miss it, do you? Now you have to pay, or you're two-faced. It's no, that's not how it works. Some people will continue to support it. Other people will be like, great, it's back, but it's not my responsibility to fund this thing. So hopefully, not only will they make a suitable amount of money from the support of people actually buying and subscribing and things like that, but also that Gunzilla Games, whatever relationship they've set up, continues to hold true. I don't know what their leadership is like, what their financial backing is. They're working on a battle royale, which is notoriously not firm ground.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's the other thing, is that even if this sort of new venture of Game Informer or rebooted version of it goes well, if the company as a whole suffers because of their battle royale, for instance, not performing well, then, you could have the Game Informer as a casualty, despite sort of maybe performing well, if people do want to come out and support it. You're right, though, that yeah, there was a huge outpouring of support and people sort of mourning the loss when it was shut down. But that does not necessarily translate to people then putting their money where their mouth is. You know, you get these headlines pretty regularly now where something that we love from back in the day officially gets shut down, and sometimes it's like, oh, I didn't even know that was still going. And I'm not suggesting that happened with Game Informer, but for example, I don't know if this has happened, when this happened, but if there was a headline that said Club Penguin finally officially closes down, it's the kind of thing where you'd be like, oh, I didn't know you could actually still play Club Penguin anymore. And then people would talk for some period of time saying, I have lots of happy memories, and oh, what a shame, and oh, I hope it's archived in some form somewhere, or
and then
someone
Disney
makes it
brings it back because everyone's talking about it.
Exactly. And then
oh my God, it's like Morbius.
It is.
When they put it back in cinemas and no one went to see it.
That's exactly what it's like, you know. So I do hope that people do come out and support this, because it is great that these people have been offered their jobs back. But just because people were sad at the time and saying, isn't this terrible? And oh, I wish we didn't know what we had until it was gone. It doesn't always translate to financial success when things are rebooted. So it is going to be a case of fingers crossed, really. But the one other thing, though, is that the fact that because they are doing a physical magazine as part of this, as well as the digital stuff, you know, those are more and more of those are going away. There are so few physical gaming magazines left in the world, both in the US and the UK and in Europe. But I suppose you eventually reach a point where you can kind of almost have the monopoly on it. So there is not room in this town for 5 large major video game physical magazines, because people who are interested in physical magazines, you're splitting the audience share, and no one of them is going to be earning enough money. But if there's only like 1 or 2 significant ones left in the US, for example, one of them being Game Informer, then anyone who is still interested in buying a weekly or a monthly video gaming magazine, it's probably monthly, they're going to go for this one in particular. And so that's got to be helpful in some way, that the market is shrinking in terms of competitors. Yeah.
Outside of obviously everyone losing their jobs, which is really, really sad, I think one of the other major concerns was that their entire online presence and back catalogue of reviews and write-ups and exclusives and stuff was basically terminated at the same time. And there was a real concern for preserving that stuff. It certainly sounds here that they have managed to back up, if not back up some of it, if not all of it, and that is now going to be available to people who subscribe, which is great news as well in terms of video game preservation and the coverage of across their 30-year history as well.
That third parties are instantly going to back all of that up as soon as they can now.
Oh yeah,
we should have had this backed up already. I'm going to download all of this now.
Everyone keep a copy.
Hard drive.
Let's put it on archive.org and keep it safe and so on. But we've still got a fair few gaming magazines in the UK. Definitely, much like every other part of the world, fewer now than there were 15, 20 years ago. But I think there's still like 4 or 5 that are running. And for a country of this size, that's quite impressive.
That's true, yeah.
But their appeal is really limited now, because the internet is immediately accessible. You get news straight away. You don't need to wait. You can watch someone playing a game rather than read about it. And magazines now feel like more of a boutique thing for a specific type of person who potentially isn't even there because they like the magazine and want to support it. It's more a case of, I like to sit down every month in the garden or whatever with a cup of coffee and the latest magazine, and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to read it because I value the opinions of the people who are writing it, or I just like the experience of sitting there and reading what feels like a bit of more mature perhaps a more mature approach to video game coverage.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel distinguished that I read Edge magazine.
You don't get loads of banner ads popping up.
You don't.
You still get them in the magazine.
You get ringtone adverts in the magazines and things.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what the demographic is now for people who do read gaming magazines, because, once upon a time it was, I'm sure there will have been a range to it, but it probably was going to be fairly young people, sort of teens, people in their 20s, 30s maybe. Nowadays, I suspect it's those same people who are still reading gaming magazines, and they don't have a new crop of readers who are in their teens or their 20s who are still reading. Maybe a few people in their 20s, but
there'll be outliers, I'd have thought.
Yeah, I think the audience will have aged up with them, and so
it's like newspapers as well. Isn't
it is, yeah. So there will sadly come a point where, frankly, everyone who liked or likes video gaming magazines will die.
Yeah.
And then there won't be a market anymore.
Yeah, and that will be a sad day. I will be among the many people who mourn their loss. But if they brought them back,
you'll be dead.
Well, I'll be dead too. But okay, if I'm in my robot body at that point, and I will mourn its loss. But if they bring it back because I'm part of a vocal majority of people who are like, oh, that's sad that's gone.
Yeah,
I don't then feel any obligation to support it financially, because those of that type of media has long since left my life. You're allowed to feel sad that it's gone and not feel an obligation to then support it, because you have other financial priorities potentially, and that's absolutely fine. In this case, though, this is great news. We have all of our fingers and toes crossed that it goes really well, and that they're very successful, and that their relationship with Gunzilla Games is a fruitful one.
Yeah.
And hopefully this is just good news across the board.
Hey, how are they going to do the coverage for, what's their battle royale called?
It's called Off the Grid.
I think there's going to be a bit of a bias from Game Informer about their opinion on Off the Grid.
Shut them down. It's like Gamergate all over again. You just get these ethics back in the video game journalism.
They gave it a 10 out of 10.
That is disgusting.
No, I think they actually described it as an independent entity.
That's
so they'll probably give relatively honest opinions, hopefully, if
indeed it warrants coverage. Coverage. But really interesting and great to see as well. So all the best to them, and hope they smash it. It's great.
Yeah.
And thus concludes this episode of the Triple Jump podcast.
Indeed.
Thank you so much for supporting us and joining us this week. There's a few places you can find us on the internet. Peter's going to tell you 3 of them right now.
You can find us at youtube.com/Team TripleJump for all of our video content, aside from the stuff that goes out on Patreon exclusively. And twitch.tv/Team TripleJump for most of our streams, apart from those special ones we do on YouTube. And if you've got Amazon Prime, you can you're getting a Twitch sub with that bundle at no extra cost, so you can redeem that against us and get all the benefits of being a subscriber. And you can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, all.com/videos, not videos.
Oh my goodness.
Team TripleJump, goodness me. Because I was thinking about Blue Sky, because you can also find us on
Blue Sky too.
Team TripleJump.
Yes. You certainly can. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/video. Oh, and see, I'm doing it as a Team Triple Jump there. All sorts of amazing rewards and tiers. Go check it out. Huge back catalogue of stuff. TripleJ.mup is our website. There you can find links to everything that we do. And the video game that we're making, you can find more information about that at TripleJ.mup/video game. It'll take you to a Steam page where you can wish list it and watch a trailer and things. Read about it. Why not leave a 5-star review on your platform of choice? It helps something to do with Al Gore's rhythms. Thank you so much, everybody, again, for your support. We appreciate you very, very much. Peter, can you tell us this sponsor again, please?
Hey, do you like hitting stuff and knocking it out the park?
Yep.
Even if the park is radioactive?
All the better.
You too can play Bat and Ball.
Delicious. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.